listen. Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
George Springer, good to see you, my man.
How we doing?
How you doing?
Surviving.
Grinding?
Surviving.
Grinding?
Oh, yeah.
I hear you, man. 2 kids.
2 kids.
Hard to get out the house.
Man, it is not easy, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love it. It's awesome, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So for the viewers who don't know, I've probably known George since we were 13 years old, 12, 13?
12 or 13.
Yeah, and so we were kind of always sort of the only, just put it bluntly, minority kids on the showcase circuit. So naturally our dads became friends, and
Correct.
they would be standing next to each other all the time. So it's been a joy to watch your career just take off the way it has, and you've had obviously you're still going, but it's been a joy to watch you from afar and now up close from the position I am. I just want to let you know that.
Awesome.
And so it kind of goes back a long way, but when did this become something for you that you were okay, I can do this at a high level?
Well, honestly, I didn't play baseball year-round until my freshman year of college. That was the first time I'd ever, done the whole 24/7, this is it. And then it didn't really kind of hit me because, in my area, kind of our area, you just kind of play. And you once it gets to a certain date, then you switch sports and you're playing, basketball, football, soccer, whatever it is. So it wasn't up until it became a reality that I felt, that I could do it. And then, here we are.
I remember, I think I spoke to you about this when you were with the Astros, but your junior year going into your senior year, we were in Wareham, Massachusetts at the Northeast Top Prospect Showcase.
That's right.
And I remember our dads always standing next to each other while I was running the 60s and all that stuff. But I remember my dad came here and was like, George's dad put him on a workout program. And I never forget, obviously you were still a really good player before that. But for me, seeing you that summer is when I was whoa, this guy has sort of separated himself. And he stands alone on the field, he stands out in the field. Did you feel that way? Did you feel that's when you started coming into your own?
I don't really know. I would probably say so. I think kind of my 17-year-old, kind of 18-year-old year, I grew a bit. I was always really small. I always followed, I guess, according to my dad, kind of his growth trajectory. But I never really knew it, never really thought about it. And then once I kind of started to grow up a little bit and felt, once I gained some weight, I got some height. Kind of who I was as an athlete, kind of who I was as a player started to kind of emerge. So yeah, I would say that was probably that, when then obviously my junior year, senior year of high school through about probably 2 years after I left college was kind of when I feel like I hit my biggest kind of physical, I guess, a maturation process.
Mm-hmm. When you, because you got drafted by the Twins out of high school,
I
right?
did.
Was there ever a thought that maybe I'll, jump to the minors, or was it always I'm gonna go to college?
Yeah, I did at times. I remember my freshman year of college. Things weren't going well. I was kind of struggling academically. Kind of had dug myself into a hole, and it was kind of one of those. Man, I just wish I'd gone and played. I wouldn't have to deal with this. Blah blah blah. But my dad and mom were right the whole time. I knew it. I knew school was the best option for me. Yes, obviously that was a huge honor to get picked up out of high school, especially by the Twins who had a team in my hometown. You're like, wow, this is great. I can play at home, blah blah. But I went to school and it was the best decision I had made for myself at the time, and I'm really glad I did it.
For people that don't know, it's a grind, to be able to come from the Northeast, especially with the weather you had to deal with, being indoors. I remember being at a showcase with you at St. John's in like December.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because like you were just like, oh, George is here. Oh, George is here. Like we just always end up like sometimes at like the same places. But like, it's hard because like you're in a gym. You're in like, it's the middle. It's the cold. Like just talk about like what's it like having to grind through that and then compete at a high level. So you're going to play at UConn where it's, 25, 35 degrees, right, possibly when the season starts. And then, boom, you're going down and playing in Florida against guys who've been, sort of in season mode the entire time. What's that process like just coming from the Northeast?
Yeah, I think kind of the best way to describe it is that's why Major League Baseball has spring training.
Yeah.
There's been guys that obviously not everybody lives, in a warm climate and all that stuff. So for us, for me as a kid, just being indoors, there's nothing like being outdoors. Mm-hmm. So I remember in college, our first 6 weeks or first almost 8 weeks were always on the road, and it was always, playing in Texas, Florida, California, going anywhere that we could that was warm. And I remember that first series was always like an eye-opener. It was always a complete shock. You were so used to being in a bubble, inside with, a white dome, a white roof, the guys throwing off a fake mound that you had to drag out there that was hidden behind a volleyball net, hidden behind, a rack of basketballs, or, a lot of times you're in a gym and you're just, doing fly balls in a gym. And when you get outside, you feel like you're kind of at a disadvantage. But once the game starts going and kind of, that week 2, 3, 4, 5, you always just kind of felt a little normal. But it is a little weird when it's, it's going from 25 degrees in Storrs, Connecticut to 85 in Florida. It's always nice.
How the draft process for you? Like, you obviously went from being, I think it was like 47th round when they had like 50 rounds, I think, in the draft.
Right.
And obviously you probably would have been taken higher, had you not had like a strong commitment to Connecticut. But becoming a first-round pick and just the process of that, you going, I think, 11th overall to the Astros, like, again, from the Northeast, how difficult was that, and what was that sort of that moment like?
Yeah, I remember a conversation I'd had with my head coach at the time at school, Jim Penders. I'm sitting in his office, and he was saying, hey, well, welcome to school, blah blah blah, and he said the goal for me is to get you from that round to the first round. He said you have the talent now. Do you have the work ethic? Do you have the discipline? And I said, yes, coach, I got it. Yeah. Thinking, I got it. And then he put you to the test right there. And, those 3 years that I spent in college, having to learn how to fight through adversity, struggle academically, learn to be accountable, but be responsible for my own self. And then just kind of have the chance to play and to grow and to kind of learn what it's like to play at a high level. I had a great experience up in the Cape Cod League. Was extremely fortunate to represent us in the, I believe it's called the FISU World Olympics at the time. I'm not quite sure. With guys like Garrett Cole, Jackie Bradley, Matty Barnes. That was a great experience. So all of that, I think, kind of paved the way, for me to get to where I got to. Again, I wouldn't have gotten there if I didn't have all the help in the world from my family, our coaches at school. There's so many people behind the player. So it's, I owe a lot to everybody that's behind the scenes.
You're sort of like this, like, Alex Cora always talks about, like, first off, he like loves you, right? Like, it's like, it always seemed like every when he's talking about the leadoff position, it always goes back to like George Springer. And when he's with the Astros, how unique is it just for you, like, in your days in Houston, obviously in your days early with the Blue Jays, to be a leadoff hitter and like from pitch one, it's like, boom, like I can snipe you real quick. Like what like just what's that process like?
Yeah. So I remember when AJ Hinch, he came up to me with a big smile on his face and he just pointed at the lineup card, because this was back in the day before they didn't release the lineup at nighttime, or let whatever the case. You had to prepare to play every day, and you would walk in and you would see the lineup. You're like, oh, I'm hitting fourth or third or whatever. And he came up to me and said, here you go. And I looked at him and I went, I'm swinging at the first pitch. And he goes, if it's a strike and it's a good one to hit it. And from that day forward, I've just kind of really embraced kind of that mentality of, this is who I am, this is how I hit, this is what I like to do. I like to go from the first one on, and if it's not a strike, I don't have to swing. And I think it kind of like changed the way I thought as a hitter. Allowed me to be very aggressive but still have control of what I wanted to do. And there's something about leading off the game with a good swing. It doesn't need to be a hit. It doesn't need to be a homer. Just a good swing, a good at bat. It gets the guys going sometimes. So it's been fun. I've learned a lot about hitting first. I've also learned that hitting first is not always about hitting first. It's about hitting third in the third inning. It's about hitting fourth with guys on base. It's helped me tremendously. So I'm very, very happy about it.
And I kind of think you sort of started that because Mookie didn't really swing at the first pitch, and that was what Cora was trying to get Mookie. He was like, dude, we're gonna put you in leadoff spot. We need you to swing at the first pitch. Your game, I think, is unique in the sense from pitch one, from out one, it's aggressive. It's reckless, sort of this reckless abandonment that comes with your game. How much does that lead to your success?
I only know how to play the game one way, and that's full speed all the time, 24/7. I'm going to give you everything I got every single night. I'm a big believer in 100% of whatever I got that night, and I've kind of always been that way, and I think it kind of translates, the way I run the bases, the way I hit, the way I play the field. But I think when it comes to kind of the leadoff position, the hitter, the game has obviously evolved and changed. There's guys like Mookie Betts is obviously hitting first. Adam Jones started doing it.
Kyle Schwarber was hitting first. Yeah,
Schwarber. It kind of changed the way that guys view that position. Yeah, I get it. You want the traditional, high on base, high average guy, but sometimes, a guy like Schwarber getting in the box and hitting the ball 800 feet is what really gets the guys going. Not like a 5-pitch walk or whatever the case. So I think it's been cool to kind of see the evolution of kind of the leadoff hitter and kind of, I guess, my style or my little twist on it.
When you look at this situation that you're in right now, Toronto, obviously you guys aren't necessarily playing as well as you want to. Are there any expectations from your standpoint of say trying to live up to a contract? I know you're not a guy who thinks a lot, tries to get in his head, but are you one that says okay, I got this contract now, I have to live up to it? What goes? How do you?
No, I don't really look at it that way. I think obviously I understand the optics and I understand everything. My goal I should say my job is to go play baseball, and my job is to play it to the way that I know how, and it's to be the player that I know how to be. And yeah, I understand, in times like now when I'm not doing what everybody would expect me to do or want me to do offensively, there's a lot more ways to impact a baseball game that don't show up on a box score.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I also understand wholeheartedly, that offensively is a very, very big part of the game. So for me, it's about, there's a lot of stuff that I can do, whether it's help guys in the clubhouse, help guys navigate certain situations, and it may not lead to my success, but if it leads to their success, I'm all right with that. But at the same time, I'm expected to perform, and I understand that. I don't try to live up to numbers. I don't try to do any. I just try to give the fans. I try to give this team everything I have every single night, and do one thing that leaves them with, okay, he made a diving catch today. He cut a ball off in the gap. He went first to home after a walk. Anything that I can do to help this team win.
Last question, George. When you look at your career now, where it is, 2 kids, 2 boys, married, $150 million richer or whatever, World Series champion, World Series MVP, all those things. With that summer in Wareham, did you imagine that you would be at this point?
No, I never imagined anything, to be honest with you. I just remember sitting there being like, man, the Cape Cod League, this is amazing. You hear about it, you see about it, you could go to. I was very, very lucky as a kid to have some time up there and spend some time with my family and see the Chatham A's and the Gateman and all this stuff, and I look back on it now and I'm just a kid from New Britain, Connecticut that that had a dream to play professional baseball, but never thought I'd end up here. And to be sitting here today, having this conversation with you is really funny. It's kind of it's cool. It's been awesome. Here we are in Fenway Park, and it came from maybe an hour and a half down the road. 12, 13. So it's been fun.
My man, we'll end it there. Appreciate
sir.
you, bro.
Cool.